This is Never Down, Never Out with T.R. Matson. This podcast is about discipline when motivation fades, resilience when things get hard, and showing up when quitting would be easier. No hype, no shortcuts, just the mindset required to build something real. One day at a time. Let's get into it. Welcome back. Let's just start off with the elephant in the room. Raise your hand if you liked the vomit story from yesterday. Come on, it's a crowd pleaser, right? At least that's what I tell myself, because it was not fun to go through. But I feel like there's a purpose for everything, and maybe that purpose was to show you what you could get through, or at least make you laugh at me. You could say it's with me, but let's be honest. It's at me. All right. So we're back for another one. Really appreciate, again, all the support. So today's topic is a big one I think that everybody can relate to. And the reason I say that is because we've all been there. We've all had bad days, right? Nobody's had all good days. If you have, please comment. I'd love to hear about it. But we all have bad days. There's good days, there's bad days, there's highs, there's lows. That's life. And honestly, if there wasn't highs and lows and goods and bads, it would be pretty boring if you're being honest, right? So today's topic, the power of showing up on bad days. This doesn't apply to aviation. This doesn't apply to relationships. This doesn't apply to your work, your studies. It applies to all of that. Every day, every moment, no matter what you're working on, there's going to be a bad day. There's going to be a low point. Sometimes the things that cause the low point has nothing to do with the goal that you're going after. Right? We spoke earlier about how I'm trying to record these. I'm trying to get on a consistent recording plan. And I wake up feeling motivated, right? We had that discussion a few days back, and I'm feeling good, and we get a call that there's a water leak. Dang it. Here we go, right? But you still got to show up. You still have a message to put out there, right? Let's say you're studying a course and you find out you got a bad grade. You can't skip class and have a pity party. You got to show up. It stinks, right? We've all had a bad flight going through aviation, and you got to go back. You got to get airborne, right? It's like when you fall down on your bike, you got to get back on the bike, get back on the horse, right? It stinks. That's life. If I could wave a magic wand and give you all only good days, would I? No. And here's why. You'd never grow. We grow in the bad days. So this is why it's critical to show up on those days, because that's when the real growth happens. Okay. I often talk to my wife about weight training, right? And, you've heard that the abs are built in the kitchen, not in the gym. True. But more importantly, the muscle growth is built more with the rest, getting a good night's sleep, letting your body recover, right? It's fun to be out in the gym lifting weights, but you got to make sure that you're getting that rest. It's the same thing here. You have to figure out in your life where the growth happens for the goal that you're trying to achieve. And you've got to be present for those moments. So today, those moments are the bad days. Maybe you're in a relationship and you're not feeling it, or you guys are at odds, right? You still got to show up. That's your contract to this. Because otherwise, you're just going to quit. And we've already talked about quitting. So what happens on those bad days, in my opinion? On the bad days, We've talked about how the growth happens, but why does that happen? Well, you're programming your mind. Okay? It's easy to show up on the good days, right? You pop out of bed, your significant other gives you a hug. It's easy to be present in that relationship, right? What about when you pop out of bed and the first thing is, did you take the trash out? It's like, much harder. But those bad moments, those bad flights, those bad workouts, those bad test scores, you're conditioning your mind to handle adversity. And I don't care if you're 5 or 75 years old, you've already learned that life doesn't come without some sort of level of adversity. Sometimes it's greater than others. Sometimes you feel like you're cruising and nothing can touch you, and then bam, blindsided. So it's important that we recognize the bad days and you embrace the bad days. One of the terms we used to say in aviation is embrace the suck, right? Military uses that a lot because, well, there's a lot of bad days. It's a lot of fun, but there's a lot of times when you have to do things you don't want to do. You don't feel like doing at that moment. You wouldn't choose to go do, right? I'm on a deployment. I'm away from home. The seas are rough. The weather's bad, and I'm scheduled to go fly. I wouldn't choose to go fly in those conditions. I don't want to have to come back and land on the boat when there's 20-foot seas and I have a crew that's depending on me. But I have to. I have to do it. And where I learned to do it was on the other stuff. The earlier times, the little trials, the little tribulations where I knew it was a bad day and I had to get through it. So I'll use another flight school analogy because they seem to fit right now. But I was going through T-45 training and randomly got grounded. Got put on squadron duty officer for the day and got grounded. And the skipper, commanding officer, comes to me and he says, "Hey, Todd, you know why you're standing duty today, right?" I'm like, "No, sir. Just figured it was my day, right?" He said, "No, there's a little concern about your size in the aircraft." Now, mind you, the military is very specific about measuring us height, arm reach, sit reach, legs, all of this. And then I did all that in the Navy. And then, as I talked about, went to Air Force training and got to do it all over again. And I know this is going to shock you. The Air Force is even more specific about it. They took a picture of us against a background that there's no way you could fake your size. But for whatever reason, nobody had an issue until this one instructor said I was too big and it caused me to be grounded. Now, that's a pretty bad day. My buddies are getting really, really close to going to the boat for the first time and graduating and getting our wings of gold. This is a huge accomplishment. And I'm sitting at the SDO desk, and I don't know if I'm going to fly again. Now, I could have easily gone home from my duty, my watch that day, and sat on my couch and felt bad about myself. But I went out for a jog. And when I went out in Texas in the summertime, as I was jogging, not a very big town, for whatever reason, I noticed this car pass me going off base. And it was the commanding officer. And it hit me. They may ground me. That's out of my control, right? If an organization doesn't think you fit into their organization, there's not a lot you can do to change their mind. But I was going to show that guy that no matter what you put me through, I'm still here. So from that day forward, I looked at the flight schedule every day. And I found when the commanding officer and when the second in command, the executive officer, and when the operations officer, the top three that were running the squadron, were scheduled to fly. And I estimated in my mind when they would be arriving and leaving base for the day. And you better believe I was out jogging on that road as much as I could, regardless of how I felt. Now, on the surface, what I was doing is I was showing them, hey, you can't affect me. I'm here, right? This is BS. I should be in the jet. I should be flying. I should be graduating. I was trying to stick it to the man, if you will. But now looking back on that situation, I think what I was really doing is I was programming my mind for future battles that I was going to have to go through that were far worse. Far worse. So I'm out there, it's 110 degrees in South Texas, and I'm jogging on this road, and I'm miserable, and I'm on the brink of passing out. But I was programming my mind every step, every day. And after a month, I looked at this flight schedule to see when the 3 top guys were coming into work, and I found myself back on the flight schedule. Not a word was said on why I was grounded anymore other than that conversation with the skipper. I was just back. Now, was I back because they had done their research and realized I was totally legal to fly the aircraft? Maybe. Was I back because the skipper XO and OPSO saw me day in and day out and saw my persistence and how I wasn't going to give up? Maybe. Maybe I was back just because of dumb luck. Somebody put me on there and nobody took me off. I don't know. But the reality of it is that month, the multiple runs a day, being miserable in South Texas, not flying, was far more valuable to me in the long term than in the short term. Because in the long term, what it taught me was how to callous my brain, how to not let other people affect what I'm going to do right now. You don't control me, and you're not going to. That is the ultimate showing up on the bad day. Every day for that month was a bad day. Listening to my best friends go fly and talk about it. Seeing the jets fly over my apartment every day, every hour. Being so close to my wings of gold, yet so far, and not knowing if I was ever going to get them. It was brutal. But it calloused my brain, and it caused me to keep moving forward. And then when the real problems came, when the real situation down the line and off the coast of Australia, in 20, 30-foot seas where I'm scheduled to fly, I didn't sit back on a pity party. I put on my flight gear and I went to go fly because that was my job. That was my mission. And I could handle it. It doesn't matter what job you're doing. It doesn't matter your current situation. You're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days. That is a constant. You gain far more showing up on the bad day than you do the good. So I don't know what you're working on today. But I do know that if you're on a high and things are going good, a bad day's probably coming. And if you're on a low, and today's that moment where you're just at the end of it. You're just like, you know what? Let me just phone it in, so to speak. I'll show up. I'm not going to give it my all. I'm just not feeling it. Know that that's the moment. That's the moment where you evict anybody in your mind that's living rent-free. That is the moment where you get control of your life and stack that win, showing up in that moment. So if you're on the high and you're going good, prepare yourself now because it's coming, and that's okay. But if you're in that low, take another step. Raise your head up high and do what you know you need to do today. Because if you do, and you do it again tomorrow and the next day, and you keep building that discipline to show up on the bad days, I promise you, sometime in the future, you'll look back on all of it and realize why you went through it. You'll be a better person for going through it, and you'll be way more capable in the future to handle any other adversity that comes your way. Keep your head up. Thank you again for all the support. I'm truly blown away at this moment. I believe in you. I want you to believe in you. I know sometimes it's hard, but we've all been there. You're not alone in this. It's going to get better. Hang in there, and we'll talk soon. If this episode helped you, don't just listen, apply it. Progress is built in what you do after the message ends. Remember, never down, never out. I'll see you tomorrow.